Repair Clinic encourages you to perform this procedure safely. In this video, we will show one or more of these icons to alert you when to use caution. Before you begin the process of repairing the carburetor, first make sure the engine has cooled. Next, you should remove the wire and boot from the spark plug to prevent the engine from accidentally starting. We recommend performing this procedure with little or no fuel in the tank. Now loosen the rope guide wing nut and remove the starter rope. Use a 5/16" socket or nut driver to unthread the bolts securing the blower housing cover. Lift off the cover. Now release the air filter cover by pulling it off from the top and remove the air filter. Remove the screws securing the air filter housing. You will need to use two different size sockets or nut drivers to do this, 5/16" and 7mm. Pull the housing free of the breather tube to remove. Use locking pliers to crimp the fuel line. Lift the fuel tank off of the blower housing and use pliers to release the spring clamps securing the fuel line. Detach the line from the carburetor and set the tank aside. Now detach the carburetor from both the choke and throttle linkages. Be sure to remove the old O-ring and retainer from the carburetor adapter if necessary. Use the 5/16" socket or nut driver to unthread the screws to release the carburetor mounting bracket. Remove the old adapter O-ring. Before you begin installing the new carburetor repair kit components, use a 10mm Allen wrench to rotate and remove the drain plug to drain any fuel that may be in the carburetor. Now remove the drain plug O-ring and replace it with the new one. Reinstall the plug. Using the 7mm socket or nut driver, unthread the screws securing the bowl. Lift off the bowl and use pliers to pull out the float pin. Lift out the float and needle. Unless it's required, we don't recommend replacing the needle seat. Next, use the pliers to help remove the emulsion tube. We recommend using carburetor cleaner to clean out the ports. Remove the old O-rings from the emulsion tube if still intact. Replace them with the new O-rings. Reinsert the emulsion tube in the carburetor and push it into place. Now remove the old needle from the float and replace it with the new one. Position the float and needle on the carburetor and reinsert the pin to secure. Replace the old bowl gasket with the new one. Properly realign the bowl. Push it into place. And rethread the screws to secure. Now replace the old spring with the new one. Next, remove the O-ring retainer if necessary and pull out the old O-ring. Insert the new O-ring and snap in the retainer. Replace the old air intake gasket with the new gasket. Insert the new O-ring into the adapter. Align the adapter in the carburetor mounting bracket. Then reposition the bracket and secure it with the screws. Now connect both the throttle and choke linkages to the carburetor and align the carburetor on the adapter. Attach the fuel line to the carburetor and secure it with the spring clamp. Reposition the fuel tank on the blower housing and remove the locking pliers. Reinstall the air filter housing by first attaching it to the breather tube. Then rethread the screws to secure. Reposition the air filter in the housing, then realign the housing cover and snap it into place. Replace the blower housing cover, then thread and tighten the bolts to secure. Depress the bail arm. Extend the starter rope and hook the rope on the guide. Tighten the rope guide wing nut. With the repair completed, reattach the wire in boot to the spark plug, refill the fuel tank, and your engine should be ready for use.